Hi, my name is William Gerads. I'm from Ham Lake, Minnesota, and I now live in Fargo. My vocation story starts when I was fairly young. I grew up in a Lutheran family. I'm one of triplets, and our grandparents were really kind of key in our faith, even though they're Catholic and we were Lutheran. They would bring us to Mass on some weekends and even during the week in the summers. I remember being younger, I think between like the ages of 5 and 10, wanting to be a Catholic priest, but as you can imagine, that was a little odd for a Lutheran kid to want to be a Catholic priest. That desire kind of started to go away in middle school. I knew I wanted to do something. I wanted to help people in some capacity, but that sort of faded. And then I had a friend die when I was in 8th grade. I think I was like 13, and that was pretty, I wouldn't say traumatic, but it really took a toll on my faith. I started asking questions of God, like, if you're real, why would you allow something like this to happen? But yeah, that kind of steered me away from the church in a way. I fell into really kind of a dark spot, and as I entered high school, I remedied that with going to parties with friends and stuff, and that wasn't a great fix. But I wanted to find some meaning in all of it, and again, that desire to help people was there, so I got my nursing assistant certificate from a local college that had like a high school program, and started working in the nursing homes with older folks. And as they were, I'd be with them, people in their worst moments, when they lost a loved one, and there was a lot of meaning in that. And I don't exactly know why, but I started praying again. I think that, when you're confronted with that life and death stuff, it's you need to find meaning, and I found that with God. Like, everybody dies, and we need people there to help make that process easier. I started pursuing a degree in nursing at North Dakota State University in 2018. That was kind of where I was trying to find a way to help people, but again, that faith stuff just kept coming back, and I knew that I needed to find a church up in Fargo. To be honest with you, I knew I didn't want it to be Lutheran. I wanted to go back. I wanted to start going to the Catholic Church again like I did with my grandparents. So I went to the Newman Center, and Father Cheney and Monsignor Schlesman and really everybody at the Newman Center was so welcoming, and they got me hooked up with the RCIA program at the St. Mary's Cathedral. And so I started going to classes each week, as well as studying nursing. And with the whole nursing thing, I don't know, it wasn't what I'd expected. And so I wasn't getting great grades, but in the midst of all that, I went to a Sikh conference. It was January of 2019, and they really kind of encouraged me to ask not what I want to do with my life, but what God wants me to do with my life. Because at the end of the day, we know that what God wants will make us happiest. So I started asking those questions. I met with Monsignor Schlesman there in Indianapolis, and he gave me some basic rules of discernment, and kind of sent me on my way. I converted that Easter of 2019, and come summertime, my financial aid hadn't gone through for the following year. So that was kind of a door closed moment, but I was kind of mad at God during that time, because I was loving NDSU, and it was great. I made a lot of friends, and then I was just kind of ripped out of that. I came home, I started going to a local church in Ham Lake and working in a geriatric psychiatry ward at the local hospital. And again, I found a lot of meaning in that. I thought maybe nursing was it again, but there was also just this hole that wasn't filled. So Father Cheney gave me a call and he was like, "Hey William, we got a spot open. We'd like you to be a peer minister next year." And I was like, "No, I don't think so. I'm not going to NDSU anymore, you know." It just, yeah, it didn't sound like it was going to be a good fit, you know. And he said, "Well, why don't you just think about it? You know, you can re-enroll. And by the way, the vocations director will be down in the cities next week. I think he wants to talk to you." So I said, "Okay." Then the vocations director gave me a call. We set up a time to meet, and we met. We talked about being a seminarian for the Diocese of Fargo, and that meeting went all right. I reapplied for NDSU. The world shut down because of COVID, and yeah, I came back that fall and started going to classes again, changed my major to philosophy, worked as a peer minister, and then I started going on some vocations retreats. I started with an Andrew dinner, heard some of the priests and diocese vocation stories, and that was great. I then went on the VNE discernment weekend at Maryvale, and during that there was, you know, the vocations director told us to think of, you know, like one question you want to ask God, and if it was answered this weekend, you'd be happy that you like went on the retreat, I guess. And you know, at that point I was really thinking about going to seminary again, and thought, you know, like that was for me. But I couldn't get over the fact that I thought that I wasn't worthy. You know, I wasn't worthy to be a priest, and I wasn't worthy to go to seminary. I just was dealing with a lot of like self-worth issues, I guess. So, you know, I just told God, I'm like, I need to confront this, and you know, I just don't feel worthy. You just kind of show me a sign, you know. And we went into Lectio that night, or maybe it was the following, and we meditated on the baptism of Jesus in the Jordan. And the part that really stuck out to me was when the heavens opened and the Spirit is descending, and you hear God say, "You are my beloved Son with whom I'm well pleased." And so I'm like, all right, you know, this is a sign, whatever. And then I get to bed and I'm starting to doubt. I'm like, no, like, you're just making this up, you know, like it's not a sign. It's just a coincidence, you know, like they pre-picked these passages just for you to like hear this, you know, and so I'm like, yeah, that's just that, no, you know. Well, then we get to vocation stories the next day, and the seminarians are going over their vocation stories, and one of them was talking about going on his diaconate retreat. It was like a 8-day silent retreat or something like that. Maybe it was longer. And he was dealing with a lot of self-worth issues, and he felt God telling him, "You're my beloved Son with whom I'm well pleased." And I'm like, look, man, like, you know, I didn't know what to make of it. So I went home, and I'm like, I was now more convinced I was supposed to go than ever. And I went on a St. Greg's visit, and that was great. I was one of the oldest guys there, but it was still great. And yeah, then I went back to NDSU. I'm like, I had to decide if I wanted to finish my degree or not, or if I wanted to go right into seminary. So I decided to finish my degree and went on some more vocations retreats. There was more, I guess, more signs, but the rest is kind of history. And so now I got my application. I turned it in, and I'll be heading to St. Greg's this fall.